Do you sometimes feel like your bucket is full and maybe even overflowing? Well, that's because we need to build more resilience. It's capacity. That's what we're talking about today on Wellness by Design. I'm your host, Jane Hogan, the wellness engineer, and my guest today is Dr. Brandy Cummings. She went from being a blackjack dealer to being a doctor of nutrition. And on the show, we talk about how to build resilience. It's many, many areas of our life. And when we do that, we can increase our capacity to actually let the body heal. I love that Brandy has the same philosophy as me and many people that the body has the wisdom to heal when we provide that environment for it to heal. You'd be really surprised what Brandy suggests as a baby step you could take today. I've never heard anyone else say it, so stay tuned till the end to listen to that. And please let other people know about this show. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, review, and just let us know what you think. And it helps us bring more guests to you, better guests, and spreads the word around as well. All right, let's dive into the episode. I'll see you inside. Dr. Brandy Cummings, welcome to Wellness by Design today. And I'm so excited to have you here, hear about your journey, and share a little bit about the work that you do and how it can benefit our audience. So, welcome.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you for having me.
I would love to hear about this how you went from being a blackjack dealer to being a doctor of nutrition. Let's hear about that journey because that sounds like a pretty interesting one.
So that's a funny story. I was living in Washington at the time. I had just moved there after I graduated high school, and I was going to college, and I needed a part-time job. And in Washington, you could deal cards at the age of 18. And so I just did that because it was really good money, and I could just do it on the weekends and go to school during the week. And that's kind of how I got through school. And then after I graduated school, I actually got my undergrad in business management, which is like I was so off track from where I ended up. And then, as I got more and more interested in health and had my own health journey and, a 2 year period of my life with just really, really debilitating mold illness, I decided to go back to school. I got my master's degree. I started having babies. Then I went back to school again. I'm just glutton for punishment, I guess, and got my doctorate degree. So yeah, it was really just a kind of a pivot in my life based on what I was experiencing and my own kind of symptoms and stories and drive to help other people.
All of us really have this journey with either ourselves or someone that we love has a health issue that's just becomes really takes over our life. There's that saying that says the healthy person has many dreams, the unhealthy person has one, right? And so we get so focused on let's fix this thing. So for you, it sounds like it was toxic mold.
Yeah.
How did that happen? What were your symptoms? And give us like a little nutshell on how you recovered from that.
So I was actually exposed to black mold at the place that I was working. That building, it was actually classified and registered with the county as a historic building because it was over 100 years old. And that's where I got exposed. And so the symptoms that I had was really rapid weight gain and weight loss resistance, extreme vertigo, really feeling like out of my body. Like I kind of describe it like I felt like I was just a host, just kind of, I was alive, but I wasn't really in my body and present and actually alive. I had what's called erythema nodosum on my shins, which is kind of presents as like hot, hard, red bumps that are super, super painful. And it's interesting because that wasn't the first time I had that. I actually had that when I was in my early 20s as a side effect to birth control. And so I knew when that popped up, I'm like, something's up with my hormones. I know this, and just really bad brain fog and it got really bad. I had to, of course, quit my job. I was unable to shower myself because I was just so dizzy and just out of my body. I just couldn't stand in the water. And so I, and as kind of time is going on, I'm getting more and more severe mental health symptoms because this is just no way of life, right? I also suffered a miscarriage at that time. And so eventually I found a practitioner that I really felt that could help me. Actually, this is the universe really looking out for you sometimes because I went to a conference which I wasn't even feeling well enough to go to. And in fact, I was sitting there getting ready to watch the keynote speaker that I was very excited to see, and I just couldn't. I was so dizzy. I was so out of it. I'm like, I can't do this. I had to go outside. I had to like find a tree and take a nap under the tree. I was so sick. But at that conference, I met this practitioner, and it was like I was supposed to be there to meet this person. And I started working with him. And it was like, oh my gosh, like I could feel it in my body. I'm like, this is gonna work. I could literally feel myself coming back alive. And I
Mm.
was like, oh my gosh, okay, okay, good. I'm so thankful. Like, this is gonna work. I'm so happy about this. And so then actually I got pregnant again and had my baby, and I nursed that baby for like 3 years, and then there was another baby and we nursed that baby, and so there was a long period of time, about 7 years, where really I had to pause all heavy kind of detoxification protocols. And honestly, it's just now that I'm kind of circling back to that, even though this journey started like 10 years ago, which is crazy.
Mm. So it sounds like the way the toxic mold was working in your body, it was affecting your hormones, and then that just kind of threw everything off. So, what were some of the like the 30,000 foot view strategy on how you were able to reverse those symptoms and still are?
Yeah, I mean, certainly impacted my hormones and also, brain inflammation and systemic inflammation and just so many areas of my body and body systems were impacted by this. And so, we looked at my genetics to kind of see what I'm more prone to or predisposed to based on a genetic picture. We supported, and then based on that, we, really supported my body on a cellular level and gave it what it needed, probably more of than the average person, and kind of that re-nourishing and making sure my cells were actually absorbing the nutrients that they need. I totally switched up how I was eating at the time based on my genetic picture. This person is like a genomic and genetic expert, so that's really his angle that he helps people with chronic illness. And then so much detoxification support, right? And just getting this stuff out of my body so that it was no longer wreaking havoc.
Mm. So it sounds like, Brandy, you built up resilience, right? So that your body, you were detoxifying, but also building up resilience. And I know that that's something that you focus on now is resilience and becoming more resilient. So can you talk a little bit about that, how to build resilience? Well, for anyone, I mean, the audience that I have has a lot of chronic pain and chronic health issues. And so resilience to me is a big topic because we want to have capacity, right, in our bucket. We all have pretty full buckets, but if we have no capacity, then we end up with illness. So we want to build capacity in there. So how do you do that?
Yeah, it's so important. I'm so glad you brought this up because, we're living in a world that is more toxic than ever. We're living in a time where people are more disconnected than ever. So much screen time, lack of, human connection. And we also have so much more on our plates than ever before. And so the question is like, how do we build resilience and be able to interact with this world in a really robust way and maintain, like you said, that capacity and that bandwidth? And so, how I approach this when I'm working with people, I have my like resilient program, and resilient to me is an acronym, and this is what it stands for. These are all the pieces that need to come in place, not all at one time, but eventually to get that resilience up. So the R is reconnection. This is reconnection to ourselves, to our purpose, to nature, to our community, to our food source. That's really important. We're more disconnected now than ever. Then we have E, which is our environment. I am of the belief that nothing heals the body as well as the body heals itself, given
Right.
the right inputs and environment. And so, how do we create that terrain so the body can do what it knows how to do? Then we have S, which is sleep and stress. So, so, so important, of course. I is inflammation, right? Which is this kind of underlying root mechanism of chronic symptoms. Then we have L, which stands for lab testing. I'm a huge fan of test, don't guess. I don't like to waste time. I don't like to throw spaghetti at the wall. I like to figure out what's going on and make, really educated recommendations based on the data that we can get from proper lab testing. And then the second I is digestion and gut health. We know that so much of our immune system is housed in our gut. Our immune system affects our neurotransmitters, or our microbiome affects our neurotransmitters, excuse me. So really focusing on improving our gut health and our digestion. And then we have the second E, which is energy and mitochondria. Mitochondria makes ATP, right? And so we have to have these biochemical pathways back online. Those need to be functioning and cycling efficiently in order for us to be able to kind of close that healing cycle and return to a state of harmony and homeostasis. And then we have N, which stands for nervous system support. This is paramount. This is a non-negotiable for me.
Hmm.
Our bodies have to feel safe in order for us to heal. So that piece is so important. And then the T is toxins and really supporting our body's drainage and detoxification pathways so that, these things are not stuck in our body and wreaking havoc and causing physical symptoms to manifest. And when you combine all of those steps, resilience goes up.
Mhm. Oh, that's great. I love that. I love acronyms too. It just, helps us like sort it out because it
Yeah.
is a big puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Trying to resolve chronic conditions, whatever it is. I mean, I have people with chronic pain and some other like autoimmune conditions that lead to chronic
Yeah.
pain. But when we've got like a chronic condition, there's always more than one trigger. It's like a whole lifestyle approach. And so if we can kind of like put it in a framework, it helps, well, helps me, helps you, helps the people that we work with as well.
Yeah.
So is that the order in which you would work with someone? So does it start with that
Mm.
first R?
Not necessarily. It really depends on the person and where they're at and what their current bandwidth is. For some people, starting with gut health is a great place to start because once we are actually absorbing our nutrients, once we're supporting our immune system via the gut microbiome, that's a great place to start because it makes everything else easier. Some people are so sensitive to everything, right? These are the people that are sensitive to smells and supplements and foods, and they're just hyper sensitive. Oftentimes, I start with nervous support for them. They
Mhm.
need to send messages of safety to their subconscious because they are not feeling safe in their world, right? They're reacting to everything. So, nervous system support is first. Some people, like some moms that I work with, they have been just in their house for the last, several years, just raising babies, and they've lost connection to themselves and to their friends and their own purpose and the legacy that they want to leave in this world. So we start there because they're isolated and they feel lonely, and humans heal better in community. So
Mm.
it totally depends on the person. That resilient acronym is not necessarily a roadmap that has to be, done in that order.
Mhm. You mentioned resilient moms, and I know you're a mom with young children, and I've noticed that a lot of people, we tend to work with the people in the situation that we know, right? That's where I am, right? In that, kind of in the freedom years of life, but yet with pain, and that's where a lot of the people in my audience are. You're working with moms. Now, a lot of people in my audience may have children that are your age, right? That they are young mothers, and maybe they're seeing, because the way things were when my kids were little, like 30 years ago. My oldest is now 30. How old is he? 34. So 32, sorry. My oldest is now 32. So my kids are 32, 29, 27. So that long ago, the world was different. There weren't as many toxins. There wasn't as much like all this social media. And so I think it was easier to be a parent back then. There wasn't so many things to think about. Plus, there wasn't so much on our plate. I mean, I was busy as well, but just those external kind of things that have changed. So you're near and dear to your heart are the young mothers. And so I know you've got this event coming up for Resilient Mothers. We want to talk a little bit about that, and maybe some of my listeners may be young mothers, but I think a lot of them have children that are young mothers, and they're seeing them maybe struggle with their young families. And this could be a support for them.
You know, it's interesting. I actually get a lot of my clients from their parents. Like, I will have a mom who has a daughter who's like, maybe in their 30s, who emails me first. I just had one the other day, and they were like, this is what my daughter's struggling with. She's unable to get pregnant. They're thinking about going through IVF. Like, I don't know if I like that idea. Like, can you help them? Like, these moms are just the biggest support system and just, hype monkeys for their kids and just doing everything they can to find them the resources because they are noticing that things are different than it was when they were having babies, and for a lot of reasons, things are more difficult. And the sentence that I kept hearing from moms is things were never the same since I had kids. That is a big triggering event for people. And for, the moms out there who have grown children in their 30s who are now starting and growing their families, that's probably something that you've seen in them, where maybe they had children and then all of a sudden symptoms started, or then they had an autoimmune condition, or then they're having issues with anxiety, or now they're trying to have a second baby and they can't for some reason, even though the first baby came so easily. You're watching this in your grown children and trying to figure out and trying to help them. And so that is exactly why I did the Resilient Motherhood Summit, which is coming up. It's launching February 28th. It is a free event. And it is so near and dear to my heart because I cannot stand the thought of a mom getting to a stage in her life where her kids are now grown and leaving the house, and then looking back and being like, oh, damn, I missed it, because I wasn't feeling well, because I had to plan my days around how I feel. I wasn't able to like be fully present. I literally, if I let myself, I could tear up right now. I could feel the welling in my eyes. I can't handle that. I don't want moms to be in that situation. Our kids are little for so little amount of time, and I
It
don't want you to miss it.
it flies by,
So,
trust me.
oh my gosh, yes. So I've pulled together over 40 speakers, experts in their fields. We have functional medicine doctors, nutrition experts, hormone experts. Um, we're having a kid day, so we have experts in like ADHD and tic disorders and brain inflammation in your kid, how to make sure your home is safe, that E part of environment in the resilient acronym. I've pulled everybody together so that every mom can, number one, understand that you don't have to settle. This
Mhm.
is not, if you don't feel well, despite what you might have been told, it's not just part of motherhood, and you don't have to settle. And there are answers. We just have to find them. And then number two, I want moms to be able to very easily identify what the very next best step for them is. Because sometimes when we feel like the mountain out of the situation we're in is so high and so big, it's like, oh my God, I'm never going to get on the other side of this. And I'm here to tell you that you can and you will. You just need to know what that very next best step is. And that is what I very carefully kind of curated the summit and the speakers so that that next decision is so easy for you.
Beautiful. And I think for any of the people watching or listening, whether you're a mother or father or a grandparent, you know, we know that ADHD and some of these brain related issues are on the rise. And it's heartbreaking,
Yeah.
when if we see our grandchildren or children going down that road. So I love that you're addressing that as well. Because
Yeah.
when the mothers heal, the family heals.
Yeah.
So,
That's
so
right.
important. So we'll share a link for people. So it's free, as you mentioned, starting, did you say February 28th?
February 28th until March 6th.
Okay, so February 28th to March 6th, we'll share that link so anyone can sign up and share it with people that 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 you think would benefit from this. It's amazing when someone, like I've hosted summits before too, and it's a lot of work, but I can tell Brandy, like your heart is in this. You have such a beautiful mission to make the world a better place. So I love that you're doing that and really appreciate that work. So
Thank you so much, Jane.
I always ask our guest one last question based on, well, this is called Wellness by Design. And so it's about intentional living. And I know this isn't maybe your particular wheelhouse, but what would you say would be, uh, with a chronic pain audience, what would you say would be or like a baby step they could take today that's going to shift their body? And I loved how you said this earlier, that our environment, we can shift our environment towards healing so that the body can do its healing work naturally. What would you say would be a baby step they could take today?
So as I mentioned earlier, I mean, the T in my resilient acronym is toxins, and toxins create a lot of symptoms of pain.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of toxins that we are having to navigate that we never had to navigate before. And so, talking about a baby step, open your windows. That is a baby step. Houses now are built to be airtight, and that air inside of our house can actually be more problematic than the air outside. We like to think about like, oh, air pollution and everything, but we don't think about the air inside of our house as being problematic. You have to have fresh air. Open up your windows, even in the winter, even for a few minutes, get that circulation. It's amazing how much that can help. And I know that that might seem like super baby step, like, wow, really? Is that really going to help? No, it does. Like the air that we breathe impacts us so I mean, so much. And so that's a great baby step.
I love that. You've inspired me. Like it's winter here in Newfoundland and snowing today. So, but you've inspired me to open my window. I know people who sleep, like even in the wintertime, they open their window a little crack at night just to have some
Mhm.
fresh air coming in at night. Also cools the room a little bit. Sometimes, that helps people. Sleeping in too warm a room can
Yeah.
interfere with sleep a little bit. So anyway,
Yeah.
love that idea. Simple steps. So I hope people watching and listening are inspired to do that baby step today. Just try it out, get some fresh air into your lungs. Brandy, where's the best place for people to find you and learn more about your work?
My website is resilientmotherhood.health, and that's also my Instagram handle, resilientmotherhood.health, and that's where I am most active.
Okay. All right. Well, be sure to check Brandy out there. And Brandy, I want to say a big thank you for being a guest on Wellness by Design today, and also for this beautiful work that you're doing in the world, coming straight from your heart as a mother and from your own experiences. I just want to say big thanks for that work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much, Jane, and thank you for having me. This has been really great way to start my day. It's morning here where I live.
All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day, Brandy, and people watching, listening. I hope you have a beautiful day too. Don't forget to share this. You know someone that needs to go to this Resilient Motherhood Summit. And also rate, review, subscribe, leave a comment. We love to hear feedback from you. If you've got any questions, just post them wherever you can or send us an email and we love to answer it. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great week.